I was 7 years old, I started competing as a high-performance tennis player in BC. By the time I was 13 years old, I suffered a complete burnout. Now, I'm rebuilding my relationship to the sport I once loved, going back to my old coaches and peers as I train for my first tournament in over 10 years. Welcome to the return. I think a lot of the reason I did this was, or started making this documentary and wanted to talk about this journey, was I thought I was past this. I genuinely thought that no matter what happens on court, no matter what happens, I could perform well enough to show people that I'm over it. What I'm realizing is I still cry a lot on court, off the court, in private, in front of other people. I'm very much not over it, and I think it hasn't been going well, to be frank. It's been a lot to deal with and a lot to go through. Okay, so yeah, over here I have some of my medals. These are kind of the only tennis ones I have. So I guess I just wanted to show first this one, which kind of started my tennis journey, and big time shifted the trajectory, because this one is the singles winner beginner 6-9 that I won in 2006 at the New West Tennis Tournament. I think I would have been 7 when I won this, and I distinctly remember this being the transition from just playing tennis to playing high performance.
Yeah, I'd say my relationship with failure was one that, again, going back to the point on self-worth, because I think a lot of my identity, as either a college player or just a junior tennis player, was attached to tennis. I felt that if I wasn't doing well in tennis and not winning tournaments or just winning matches, I think it brought me down just in general, personally as well. So I'd say failure in tennis, again, correlated really strongly to maybe my mental health and my, I guess, relationship to tennis even. Just how much I wanted to play it and the pressures that I felt, with it.
I wouldn't say I had a good relationship with failure. I mean, it was definitely very present in my life. I couldn't get rid of it. So it's not exactly anything anyone wants to go through. I mean, we're all going to go through failure at some point in our lives, but it was just very prominent. And I think especially starting, playing competitive tennis at a really young age, it was a little too soon.
I think tennis with failure, it definitely builds resiliency, because you do have to go through a lot of this alone. You have to be able to take the losses alone, and I think a lot of that is unique to tennis, whereas other probably team sports, it's you're doing it together, you can support each other, and I've had an amazing coaches and team of support and stuff, but they're not always there with you. So I think it does kind of teach you to be able to bounce back from that and be resilient in tennis, but in life in general.
When you got older, the progression got you into, call it, a different league of politics and people and economics. That's where the line was drawn on tennis, between having fun and taking the next step, which you and I did it together. You know that. But the steps at the end, that's when it got really crazy. When the management, the time management, the school, the economics, the expectations that we all looked at you. And you're a little kid. You were just a little kid. It was borderline abusive, what you went through, and the expectations and everything. And then at the end, when it fell apart, you fell apart. You said that's enough. That's when the day you came in and dropped that bomb, that was the day you became an adult. When you looked at all of us and said, I had enough.
The first time I tried to return was when I was 20, and I played at the UBC Tennis League, and I was trying to get control of my athletics and my physical health, as well as my mental health. And I remembered that a lot of my mental health in high school was controlled by sports, and I really enjoyed that feeling, and it got a lot out for me. And I was like, great, I'm gonna enjoy this league. And it was against all these 40-year-old men, and it was great. Well, in my head it was great, until I hit the court, started playing this 40-year-old guy. He was probably my level, and I just started losing. And I just started hitting the net. I just started losing not to him, I was losing to myself. And then I started sobbing as a 20-year-old full adult, 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, on the court, to the point where the 40-year-old man was like, are you okay? Is something else going on in your life? And I was like, no, this is what's going on in my life. And then I quit the league and never played again. Until now. I think it's going to be a complicated journey because in my head, I think I have unlearned that. I think I'm very confident in the feelings of failure. I'm very confident in not being good anymore at stuff. But I don't know if my body feels that way on the court. I think from that experience when I was 20, and even as I like play with my coaches or my brother or anyone, I still have that hate talk in my head. I still have that shame that feels like I consciously know is wrong, but I can't help but feel terrible. And that feels very in my body. So I think it's connecting these two.
Okay, good to see you, no? After how many years?
Good, so many.
Oh, like
It's
10 years?
10 years, yes.
That's good. Okay. Let's do some warm-up first. Some footwork.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the ladder.
Okay.
Same thing. Good. Good job. A little bit light on the feet, other side.
Yeah.
With the left leg, leading. Okay. You know this stuff, you remember this. Good. Perfect.
What is your relationship to failure like now?
I think now that I can enjoy tennis a little bit more, and tennis and competing doesn't feel so all-encompassing and kind of that strongly attached to my self-worth. I feel like, now at least it's just, I can come to terms with it as something like that just happens as someone who has a hobby or, plays for fun or plays competitively. Like, it's just not so much tied to like my own self-worth anymore. And I think I can just let it go, which I think in the past, failure was something that was really hard to let go on the tennis court.
I don't want to say it's gotten any better. I think I've definitely held on to a lot of it, of like the girl getting her ass kicked, from like starting at 10 years old, and it hurts, right? You kind of take that burden, you use it as motivation to fuel you to keep going and like work harder, but still, it's never easy to take a hit like that. I understand the sport a little bit better now though, and I understand like it's gonna happen. There's one winner and it's not always gonna be you,
Perfectionism. This is something I've been realizing in my youth I have struggled with a long time. The realization I'm having now, talking to my coaches, to my peers, is it's not something that has stopped. As I look at my tennis game and as I look at how I treated it when I was young, I realized that I was trying to be perfect a lot for other people. I was trying to get the outcomes other people wanted. I was trying to make everyone around me proud of me for being perfect. Now, this feels like something I should leave in my childhood, probably. Something I want to leave in my childhood, but also something that I think I pretended I was done with when I quit tennis. I think I assumed that this perfectionist tendencies, this obsession with making everything right and exact, stopped when I stopped playing tennis, because that's where I associated a lot of that pain. But in talking with my coaches and in making this documentary itself, a lot of emotions are coming up while I'm editing. I'm looking at the documentary, I'm looking at myself, my physical appearance, the shots I'm taking, the way I'm performing something and obsessing over the lack of perfection again. I think what this made me realize is I'm not done battling perfectionism, and I'm not done figuring out my relationship with failure and perfectionism in tennis. But I do think once I face this struggle head on, I can really apply it to more than just my tennis game, more than just my day-to-day, but really to every aspect of my life.
My relationship with failure was a little bit more lax than I think some of my peers. I wasn't. I think it was credit to my father, who kind of instilled in me from a young age that you don't necessarily need to always win, and that wasn't at the end of the day the most important thing, especially when you're very young. If you have results that are great, that doesn't necessarily suggest that you're going to be an amazing tennis player later on. And although my goal when I was young was to go pro, the setbacks didn't really impact me that much. So failure didn't scare me. I think long-term failure of not, becoming a pro tennis player, that was always on my mind. But I always kind of viewed it from a positive perspective. It's a way you learn from losing and from failing, and then you get marginally better. So I speak this way because this is what my dad instilled in me. So definitely credit to him there.
It literally shifts perspective. Do I see it as failure, or is it yet another steps that I needed to take on my way to learning? And much of that could be divided into the mindset. You have growth mindset, right? And if you develop the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, that your achievement, your success is not hinged on your talents, unchangeable characteristics, people would be more open to take risks, to be seeing failure as just a natural processes of their learning, to actually take feedback from it, be open to instructions, and storm it much more easily. So that's a shift in perspective and the attitude that I would focus on, from fixed mindset to growth mindset.
Good. Go. Straight forward, wide, lower, come back. And last one. One. Two. Good. Shuffled. Use your right leg. Excellent. Nice. Okay.
Last medal I have here is after I quit. So this medal is from high school. It is from 2012-2013, and it's my All-Star MVP medal for my high school tennis team. I wanted to highlight this one because I always tell people I quit at 13, and this is from when I was 14. Because in my mind, this medal and this time of tennis life was just with high school. I did not practice, I did not train. I just showed up for matches once a week with my friend Nicole, my friend Dominic, and all these exchange students that played tennis. And we just had a good time, won our matches, walked home. That was all. And tennis for once only took up, I think, maybe 4 hours a month of my life. So in my mind, I still quit. But I got the All-Star medal that year for my positivity again. Yeah, and sportsmanship. So that was exciting. And I don't know. Another thing I think I'd like to highlight, because I think I view quitting tennis as quitting competition and quitting the tournament run. But I never really quit, because obviously I kept playing, and obviously I still won, and obviously I still made a difference and still cared about the sport, even after I quit.
Think of one most valuable lesson that I can teach my students. It's the pursuit of excellence. And I really mean not necessarily winning everything and being number one, The meaning of being excellent is everything you touch, everything you know, from how you pack your bags to warming up before you actually train, and just thinking about what the best people, how do you behave, how do they carry themselves, and think about how they do things. And even though you may not be number one in the world already, there's not a reason to stop you from behaving like one, and always doing our best, and thinking about, the best I can do in this activity or in this activity. Well, let's always strive for the best, and hopefully they can take that from tennis context and apply it to other things that they do. So it's more of like an attitude, I say.
Do I think there's a relationship between perfectionism and tennis? Absolutely. I think most tennis players we're superstitious and we're perfectionists. But I do think we have to understand that perfection isn't necessarily achievable. Even if that's our desire, I think we're never going to win 100% of our tennis matches. We're never going to get 100% first serves in. We're never going to be hitting the ball cleanly every single time we hit it. So I think we have to accept that, even though we probably strive for perfectionism. A healthy teaching environment for my students, I think fun is the top of the list. They have to have fun, they have to want to be able to come back. But I also think what's hugely important is that failure is okay. I always say to a lot of the kids that I coach that you don't learn anything from winning because you won. You don't lose, you learn. And you only lose if you don't learn anything. So I think mistakes are important.
The way I viewed failure before was almost a fake version of failure, where I promote to others, and I'm okay with failing, I'm fine with doing that, I do improv, I fail on stage, I fail everywhere. But in the privacy of my own home, in the privacy of my own head, when I'm on the court, when I'm in my apartment editing this documentary, I'm not so kind to myself. So in doing this, talking about it in front of the camera, in the process of making the documentary about tennis and about my obsession with perfectionism, I'm trying to hold myself accountable in the future to not obsess the same way I have, and to give myself grace and to have fun and really enjoy and be proud of myself for the sake of being proud of myself. Giving myself worth for the sake of giving myself worth, not because of a certain outcome and not because of a certain perfect shot or shot. After I quit tennis, my family went on their first family vacation to Hawaii, which was incredible because we finally had the money to spend on us being close together, not on the basis of one person's performance. How did you feel when I quit?
Sad, disappointed, and probably relieved a little bit. If that's not a nice thing to say, but it was just that it had begun to spiral. If that's maybe I'm over exaggerating that word, but it was always coming around. We had no angle at getting out of that circle. And usually we can come up with solutions to everything, but that was a tough one. But when you finally had enough, there was 1,000 things that you left because of. But the sport, leaving the sport in general, because I remember you wouldn't play with any of us. You just, nope, I don't need this. I'm busy, and you resented it.
This is my childhood tennis racket. It's still my spare, so I always bring it around with me as a spare racket just in case my main racket, the strings break. So I carry it around full time, and I still take it everywhere. The head is too small for an adult, so I shouldn't play with it, but I carry it around. It's the racket that got me through a lot of the later high performance stuff, not the earlier stuff, because I got a new racket from that age when you grow. This is the racket I'm going to smash. I'm very excited to do so. No longer a spare. She'll be dead. Oh, so rough. Not doing Feeling good at getting exercises, not feeling great at the body.
Now we're gonna work you serve, okay?
Okay.
Slide ball, okay.
Yeah.
You know, what's this? What's my food? Okay, this is for your serve, your right hand, right?
Yeah.
My foot gonna be not too far, but not too close. That's the position, okay?
Yeah.
Gonna come up here. We're gonna stretch up. You're gonna reach up. You do 3 taps. 1, 2, 3. Stretch your leg down.
Yeah.
See, I'm stretching my calf. I'm going up. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Do
I
10
think
taps.
I have to take a little break. I'm feeling a little dizzy.
Oh, shit.
But I do think I've been failing at what I initially set out for, which was recreating my childhood routine, recreating the exact circumstances I had when I was a kid because of the realities of life. I have a full-time job. I want to see my friends. I want to see my family. I have to work on this project, edit it, produce it, direct it. And the reality is I can't recreate every moment I had from childhood because I had a lot of support. And I still have amazing support now. But I think changing my expectations and setting a new definition of failure is where I might see success moving forward as I'm 2 months out from my tournament.
2 months out.
2 months out. Which is kind of scary to have this realization only 2 months out, because I think, even looking back, I feel like I could have used my time better.
It definitely creates some challenges because by the time I'm 26 now, scarily, but a lot of people are working or, finishing grad school and they have their life planned out. And I think a big part of why I'm okay doing this at 26 is because I do have my life planned out in that I'm halfway through med school. Like, I know what I want to do, but at the same time, you're riding, say, 4 or 5 hours a day, you do gym, and then the rest of the time you're trying to rest, you're trying to sit on the couch and do nothing, which is kind of counterintuitive to how I am, but also how society is, because you want to be, progressing in your career or, I don't know, not sitting on the couch. They make that seem lazy, but it's part of high performance sport, especially part of cycling. You need that recovery. So I think it makes it hard because with balance of, different responsibilities you have as an adult, friendships and, work that you have to do and everything, it sometimes makes that difficult. But at the same time, all the experience I have from school, kind of how you succeed in school, how you succeed in other sports, you can bring all that to the table. So you have that experience for your sport in adulthood, and you kind of handle things a lot differently and a lot better than you do when you're 14.
I'm trying to train like I did when I was a kid, and I'm trying to recreate a high performance schedule, also adjusted to an adult, not a child.
Yes.
And I'm struggling.
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
I'd recommend, so every type of stress you have is training stress. Your body doesn't know whether it's life stress or training stress. And so you have to adjust your training schedule to your life. And so, I coach some athletes as well. And so if they work, it's going to look very, very different than if they don't have a job, because you can train 5 hours a day, go really hard, and then just rest the rest of the day. You're at school, you're doing things, you're doing everything. So you're going to only be able to train, an hour and a half in the morning. And then you have the rest of your training day, which is still stress. So really adjust to your life.
Blew my mind. I was like, I didn't know that. Yeah. I haven't been able to train with Reggie as much as I wanted to. Haven't been able to be on the court 5 times a day like I was as a kid. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to mentally prepare myself in those quiet moments for my tournament. Because ultimately, I don't think anything that's happening on the court is what's going wrong. I don't think that anything's happening in the gym is what's going wrong. I think everything and every reason I burnt out, every reason that I quit, every reason that I stopped playing has to do with everything that was happening in my head, which is on the court, off the court, while I'm editing, while I'm filmmaking, while I'm working. It's everywhere. I do think tennis has taught me a lot of work ethic. I think I will constantly believe that I'm not working hard enough or doing the exact things I need to do to succeed. And although that mentality is not great for a 10-year-old, I do think I've learned to adjust it in a reasonable scale, where it means I'm very unafraid to try new things, because I know if I put the work in the way I put the work in tennis, technique, training, packing my bag correctly, all those little elements, it made me very confident that that work could at least get me to a point of, definitely not talent or perfection, but a point of competitive edge. I want to return to tennis because I'm ready to reclaim it for myself, but also to finally decide and to feel like tennis is my sport only for me. I want to have fun. I want to feel like I was 6 years old playing on the court with my mom in the pouring rain. I want to feel unstoppable and free again. So this is my return.